What's up, Speedway fans? I'm here just outside London, sat in a hotel room, and I'm putting together the second edition of the My First Speedway Bike series. The first edition last week completely exceeded all my expectations. The numbers and reactions have been utterly ridiculous in comparison to my other videos, and I cannot begin to thank you all enough for watching and joining the journey with me. I was going to do a segment in this video where I reply to as many frequently asked questions as I can, but I think I'm going to leave that to during the week and do a sort of My First Speedway Bike part 2.5 and do it all in one go. But in today's video, I decided to remove the carb for the first time ever, with no knowledge and no experience. Do not forget to click that thumbs up button. It makes a world of difference here on YouTube. The more thumbs up, the more positive comments, the more YouTube pushes the video into the algorithm, and the bigger the channel grows. And also don't forget to click that subscribe button. It's 100% free, and it just means that you don't miss a video in the future. My name's Carlito, and welcome to my YouTube channel. So, if I'm going to brave taking off the carburetor, the first thing for me to do is to take off the throttle and the throttle cable. It would have made a nice little clip if some doggy hadn't have got his hands in the way of everything that was going on. I may be a TMU mechanic, but trust me, underneath my arms it was simply two bolts that were easily removed with an Allen key. You'll see them in the next clip anyway. Then all I had to do was slide off the throttle and remove the cutout. You can see the bolts that I mentioned just now a lot clearer here. This definitely isn't a necessity, but I thought it would be a good idea to gently put them back in, just so I didn't lose them. The next step was to remove the fuel lines, one on the left hand side and one on the right hand side. And once that was done, there was only one more Jubilee clip to loosen. I thought removing the carb was going to be some sort of enormous mechanical challenge, but I was pleasantly surprised. It was simply a couple of bolts to hold on the throttle, pull off the fuel lines, loosen the Jubilee clip, and voila! The carb was off! I didn't have a professional engine bung, but loads of people have said that unless you're washing it, it's okay to plug the inlet manifold with a bit of blue roll or an old rag. I opted to go for an old t-shirt as I didn't want to run the risk of the blue roll ripping and getting stuck in the engine, because knowing my luck, it definitely would. It was all going so well, and then I ran into my first problem. The problem that everybody had warned me about, leaving methanol inside the carb. I thought I drained all the fuel out of the carburetor, but when I looked down, it had poured all over the floor. This fuel had been sitting inside the carb from the day before I left for Riga, 8 days ago. Endless people have told me horror stories about methanol congealing inside the bowl and blocking the jets, or even worse, methanol splashing down into the inlet manifold and washing around inside the engine itself. So, I am going to have to take the carb into my workshop and take it apart and see what's going on. It's the only thing I can really do now. But before I do so, I am going to go into some details about the carburetor itself, just from a bit of research I've done, but warning, everything I'm about to say could be complete bollocks. So here is my disclaimer. The Speedway carburetor. Mine's a little bit older than what the boys use in 2025, but it's still fueled by two lines that drain methanol from the fuel tank down to the carb itself. Like the modern models, my carb is equipped with a choke. You pull it towards you to turn it on and push it back to turn it off. The choke is used to allow extra fuel into the air-methanol mixture via a little opening inside the carb. On the bottom, you'll find the bowl. This is where the fuel sits, ready to be mixed with air and eventually squirted into the combustion chamber. This is a photo of one of the more modern Blixt models. I did plan to show you around the inside of my carb as I pulled it out for the first time, but obviously something went wrong. The air filter. This sits on top of the carb and catches all the dust and dirt before it can be sucked into the carburetor and ultimately into the engine. Removing the air filter is just as easy as it is to remove the carb. Just loosen up the Jubilee clip and she comes off. I poured the last bit of methanol out before taking the carb and a few tools up to my workshop. One thing you may notice is that my workshop has a beautiful white worktop surface, and that's because my workshop is actually my kitchen. It's perfect, under unit lights, the correct height, and easy to set up a camera. My wife is absolutely buzzing for me to turn our food preparation space into a makeshift speedway workshop. So I've removed the carb from the bike, laid a towel down to stop any leftover methanol from stinking out my kitchen, and I've mustered up the courage to take this thing apart and see if there's any obvious problems. And straight away it becomes clear, even to the most unexperienced of eyes. The bolts on top of the carb have obviously not been removed for a long time, as they're tighter than a shark's backside. And somebody has quite clearly been a bit hand-fisted previously and rounded the bolts off. I removed where the fuel lines fixed to the carb to see if better access would help, but it just wasn't going to work. I know I have the world's worst set of Allen keys, but sadly, this problem was an issue before my Kinder Egg tools had touched anything. One size was ever so slightly too big, and the other fit perfectly, but it had no bite at all. Even without me putting any pressure on the Allen keys, it just wanted to spin around inside. Looking at the bolts a little closer, it was clear to see that they had been rounded off long before I came to own this machine. I had a few suggestions from a few mates, but I think I'm going to wait until I meet up with my friend Eric in a couple of weeks' time. I think I'd rather be supervised when it comes to things like hammering Allen keys into where they're too big for. So I wiped away all the crusty bits where I could access, and thought I'd show the camera what a throttle does inside the car. Once I can actually take mine apart, I'll learn a little bit more and go into much more detail. But for now, it was time to reattach where the fuel lines attach and start putting the bike back together.